Hey there everyone, welcome back to my channel. So we have already reviewed the Qwen 3 235b-2507 non-thinking model. I know that is a mouthful. Talking about the model, it was absolutely insane in performance. You can watch that video. And after that, we were waiting for its thinking variant. And today we finally have it. We have the thinking variant of the model name that I just mentioned. I don't want to repeat it. So in this video, we'll be just mentioning it as Qwen. So they are saying improved performance in logical reasoning, math, science and coding, better general skills, instruction following, tool use, alignment and stuff. And it has 256K native context length for long form understanding. Let's look at the benchmarks. So if you look at the benchmarks, we have GPQA Diamond, AIME 2025, Live Code Bench, Humanities Last Exam and Arena Hard V2. Let's do a deeper dive. Before that, you can look at the color code so that you understand which model is which. So if you look at GPQA Diamond scores, you can see it scores a whopping 81.1, 10 points higher than its previous version. That is nice to see. But still the best is Gemini 2.5 Pro with 86.4. We'll be talking about reasoning later in this video. Let's move on to Max. You can see in Max it is nearly one of the highest, scoring very close to OpenAI O4 Mini. That is nice to see. Talking about Live Code Bench, which tests the backend coding performance of models, you can see this model seems to score the best. We'll be looking into coding as well to see if it's actually true. Talking about Humanities Last Exam, this model scores 18.2, a big improvement than its previous version which scored 11.8. We can see that Grok is not included, which is actually the current best when it comes to Humanities Last Exam. But let's just continue. By the way, if you don't know Humanities Last Exam, it is one of the hardest benchmarks. As you can already see, it tests math, knowledge and various other domains, and it's a general benchmark. Talking about Arena Hard V2, so this tests the general intelligence of model, and you can see Qwen actually surpasses Gemini 2.5 Pro, guys, which is insane. It scores 79.7 compared to 72.5 from Gemini 2.5 Pro. So in all of those benchmarks, you can see, leaving the GPQA Diamond benchmark, in most of them it shows that it has crossed Gemini 2.5 Pro and is better than. Is that true? Let's head over to our testing. You can see we are testing state-of-the-art reasoning models, and this is the reasoning section. I've tested them on 4 very hard questions. Trust me guys, the models that you are seeing, no models other than these are able to get good enough scores in these questions. So these are very hard questions that have been handpicked. By the way, if you want to actually see these problems, you can go over to my problem collection on my website yjxai.in, and you can see in reasoning problems we have all the questions. Let's start off with the first question, that is 64th tennis player. Let me show you the question. So you can see this is the one. The correct answer is option A, 9 and 13. So how much do the model scores? The highest you can see is from OpenAI O3, scoring a 10 out of 10. And also from Grok for reasoning, which also scores a 10 out of 10. If you talk about the older Qwen model, it scores just 1 out of 10, which is not that good, guys. What about the newer variant? The newer variant scores just 1 out of 10 again. So we don't see any kind of major improvement. Next, let's talk about the seating arrangement question. This is one of the hardest questions that I have, and let me show you the question. So this is the question, and the reason it is hard is because you can't just guess the option which is correct. You also have to respond the correct seating arrangement. Let's look at the scores. You can see no model scores a 10 out of 10. The highest we have seen is from Grok for reasoning, scoring a 7 out of 10. The previous Qwen model scored a 0 out of 10. What about the newer one? The newer one scores a 0 out of 10 again. So we don't see any improvement here as well. So for the rest of the questions, jersey number and navy designation, I don't have scores for the older Qwen 3 because I think these questions were not included when the older Qwen 3 was tested, but we have scores for other models. Let's move on to the jersey number question, which is currently the hardest question that I have. Let me show you the question. You can see this is the question. Again, you can't answer with an option. You have to respond with this correct seating arrangement. Only then you will get this question right. So here you can see the highest that we have ever seen from any model is actually from DeepSeek, scoring 2. Other impressive models just score 1 out of 10. So you can see it is a very hard question. What about the newer Qwen model? It scores a 0 out of 10 again. Let's move on to the final question, that is navy designation. Let me show you the question. You can see this is the question. There are 12 persons with different designations. You have to identify which designation corresponds to whom. So this is the correct answer. Here as well you can see the best performing model is Grok for reasoning, scoring a 10 out of 10. What about the newer Qwen? The newer Qwen model scores 3 out of 10. At least it's not a 0. So now if we sort the models by rank, the smartest model, at least based on my current testing, is Grok 4 reasoning followed by O3, and you can see the list over here. The newer Qwen model falls towards the very bottom of this, falling even behind DeepSeek R10528, Claude 4 Opus and Gemini 2.5 Pro. So clearly when it comes to raw reasoning and intelligence, it is not better than Gemini 2.5 Pro. But this is just one section, we have talked about the reasoning only. What about coding? Because if you look at the benchmarks, you can see it is said that it is better than Gemini 2.5 Pro when it comes to coding. Let's have a look at that. So you can see I've selected the Qwen model and I've enabled thinking. Also I've set the max thinking budget to max so that it uses its 81,920 tokens. Similarly, I have selected Gemini 2.5 Pro, enabled the thinking budget, and I've set to max, that is 32,768. Let's start off with the first question. Can you draw a dragon in a web page using HTML, CSS and JS? Show side view of the dragon and give your best implementation in one single code. So let's send this to both models and let's see their responses. So guys, now you can see Gemini 2.5 Pro is done, whereas Qwen is taking a lot of time to think. So this is something that you have to be aware of if you're having a conversation or using this model elsewhere. This model will take a lot of time to think. Okay everyone, we have finally got a response from Qwen. So let's start the comparison. Let's start off with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Open up HTML viewer. Let's paste that and let's preview it. Okay, so this is what it has come up with. The eyes are, I think, following my cursor. That is nice. We are able to distinguish this as a dragon, I guess guys, because it is the head, this is the neck, and the body. Tail is kind of wiggling. We also have legs and wings. So although it looks bad, but you can identify the parts, so it's barely a pass. Let's move on to Qwen. Qwen has given us a very long code. It is nearly 550 lines of code. So let's copy the code, open up HTML viewer, and let's paste that and let's preview it. Okay, so this does look like a Chinese dragon. You can see it's kind of long, but I don't know what this is. Kind of a bubble at the top. Maybe it is breathing, but it looks more like a fish, doesn't it? It has breathe fire option. So if I hit breathe fire, you can see the fire is going backwards instead of coming out from the front. Let's hit flap wings. So I don't see any kind of wings here. Both have given a mediocre performance in this, but I would say comparatively Gemini 2.5 Pro is better. So this is a win for Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's get into the next question. So the next question is, build the absolute best implementation of a Super Mario game in a web page without using any external assets and in one single code. So let's send this to both models. Let's look for the responses. So this time around Qwen has not taken much time guys. It has already started generating, whereas Gemini is taking some time. The reason I am pointing this out is you will find this that in some questions Qwen takes a lot of time and in some questions it takes very less time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the performance will be better when it's thinking for more time. Okay everyone, we have got the responses from both models, and this time around Qwen has generated nearly 1545 lines of code guys. Insane. Let's start off with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's copy the code, open up HTML viewer, let's paste that and let's preview it. It says single file Mario, arrow keys to move and jump, click to play. So let's play. We are able to see the Mario, and okay, these question mark boxes are at the bottom. That shouldn't be like that. We have a sound when we jump. We also have enemies and they are moving. Nice. You can see we have different sound effects, which is actually insane. Okay, now the question boxes are at the top. Let's hit this one and okay, we increase in size. Let's move on. Okay, let's go up, and I think we should win if we cross the flag. Okay, you win. Click to restart. Absolutely insane guys. That is a working game. Let's move on to Qwen. Let's copy the code, open up HTML viewer, paste that and let's preview it. It says Super Mario Classic Web Edition, start game. You can see the button is kind of 3D, which looks very good, but the start game button is not working. The game is not starting, but I really want to see what it has done in 1500 lines of code. So what we'll do is we'll give it another chance. The start game button is not working. Fix it and give me complete updated code. And since we are giving Qwen a chance, I think we should give Gemini 2.5 Pro also a chance. So we'll just mention, so we are sending, the game looks very basic. I think you can do even better. Give me the best implementation. The code length can be as much as you want. So let's send this and let's wait for the responses. Okay, Gemini is done generating and Qwen is still thinking guys. I hope it pays off. Okay everyone, we have got the responses. Let's start off with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's open up HTML viewer. Let's paste that and preview it. Okay, I do see a black screen. Now it says Ultimate Mario. Click space to start. Okay, I'm able to jump, but guys, I'm not able to move front or back. Let's hit full screen. Yeah guys, so I'm not able to move. So comparatively came up with a worse response. Having said that, let's move on to Qwen. So again, it has given nearly 1538 lines of code, guys. Now let's copy it, open up HTML viewer, let's paste that, and let's see, it says Super Mario. So again, the start game button is not working, guys. I mean, it's a clear fail and Gemini gets a win over here because it was able to make the game run in the first instance. So it's a win for Gemini. Let's move on to the next question. So the next question is, create a JavaScript animation of falling letters. Let's see which one gives us the better response. Okay everyone, we have got the responses from both models, and again you can see Qwen has actually generated a very long code, nearly 818 lines of code. I don't know what it has done because that much is not required for this question. Anyways, let's start it. Let's open up a HTML viewer and let's look at the response. So we are testing Gemini 2.5 Pro. So we do see a ball, but there are no letters, guys. So let's keep it aside and let's move on to Qwen. Let's copy the code, open up HTML, let's paste that, let's preview it. Okay, so this is the page. You can see the ball is not moving. The letters are kind of going here and there. It says active letters, FPS, density, gravity, and all of those stuff. Clearly you can see it has kind of tried to include a note kind of thing with different highlights. This is not something that we have asked for, guys, and I think this is the first model which is behaving in such a manner. The response in itself is not that good. You can see the letters are working and they are bouncing right, but I'm not able to move the ball, and comparatively I would say it is better, but it has done a lot of things that we didn't ask for. So this model can do stuff that you don't even ask for, so you should be aware of that. Having said that, I will give a win to Qwen this time because I think comparatively it is something against Gemini which has not given us anything. So this is a win for Qwen. So now let's move on to the next question. The question is, write a Python code for a hollow circle with an opening. There are two balls inside it, and whenever a ball exits the circle, two new balls appear. So let's see how they perform. Okay everyone, we have got the responses. Let's start off with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's copy the code, let's paste that, and let's run it. Okay. We do see two balls, exactly how we wanted. Let's see what happens when a ball tries to exit from this opening. We have to see if this is the mentioned opening. Okay, so the opening that is visible and the real opening both are correct, and I think it has tried to implement some sounds, but we do hear clipping kind of audio. So audio I think was not implemented that well, but the bouncing of the balls and stuff like that, they are implemented pretty well. Also the balls also look very nice. So this is a pass for Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's move on with Qwen. Let's copy the code, let's paste that, and let's run it. Okay, we do see two balls. We do have a red line at the top. Okay, you can see some balls are visible at the bottom, and I think it is not implemented correctly. We can see the balls are appearing outside as well, and they are kind of glitching. Also you can see the number of balls is stuck at 81, which means that the application is kind of stuck. Let's press R to reset. Okay, so we have done the reset. So you can see they work fine in the beginning, but after a while they start to move too fast. Also, if you observe clearly, you can see the opening is visible here, but I think the actual opening is right at the top, where we see this red line. So comparatively, I would have to say that Gemini 2.5 Pro's response was way better. So it's a win for Gemini. Let's move on to the next question. So the next question is, design a Python program that simulates Earth rotation. Let's send this question to both models and let's see what they come up with. Okay everyone, we have got the responses from both models. Let's start off with Gemini. Let's copy the code, let's paste that, and let's run it. And okay, I think we see an Earth, guys. If we zoom out enough, it does seem like an Earth. You can see it also has clouds and atmosphere. It is one of the best implementations that I've seen so far, guys. We can also pause and play. Absolutely insane. Let me give you a zoomed view. You can have a look. It looks absolutely insane. A pass from Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's move on to Qwen. Now you can see again it has generated very long code. 617 lines of code. Let's see if it's worth it. Let's copy the code, paste that, and let's run it. Okay, we do see a black screen. It says Earth Rotation Simulator. Let's wait for a while. Maybe something will appear because we don't see any kind of error in the console. Okay guys, we do see something. So I actually changed the zoom to 1.5 and now we see an Earth kind of structure, guys. We're able to see the day and night cycle. The atmosphere is visible, and I think this seems to be land masses. I'll have to say this is a very impressive performance, guys. Not many models are able to do this. But I think I will incline towards Gemini 2.5 Pro because it feels a bit better, and also the shape of the earth and stuff is actually comparatively better. So I'll give this a win to Gemini 2.5 Pro, but it is an impressive performance. So I will take that into consideration when I'm giving you my conclusion. Having said that, let's move on to the next question. Now let's ask them to create state-of-the-art Pacman game in Python. Let's see what they come up with. So this will be our last Python question, and after that we'll be moving on to a front-end question. By the way guys, if you are liking this video and want to support my effort, the best thing that you can do is hit the like button, and if you see a hype option, please do click that, because that actually helps the channel to move forward, and that will be a real help. Also, if you're subscribed, please make sure that you have hit notification bell to all, because I do post the latest news through my YouTube posts. So if you want to be informed about the latest in AI, that is the best thing you can do. And thank you for showing the support. Having said that, Gemini 2.5 Pro, again you can see, is done thinking and is coming up with the response, whereas Qwen is taking its time. So I've already said this, Qwen, if you are trying to use this new Qwen model in any of your applications, please make sure that you don't have any kind of time constraints, because it can actually be an issue. If it thinks that the complexity of the question is high, then it will take all of the time in the world to come up with a response. Okay everyone, we have got the responses from both models. Let's start off with Gemini. Let's copy the code, paste that, and let's run it. Okay, Python Pacman. Press paste to start. Okay, it looks good. I'm able to move the Pacman, but for some reason the up arrow is not working, guys. Okay, maybe the up arrow is working, but some places we are actually not able to move, or the arrows are not working. Whatever may be the case, we are not able to freely move. Also, you can see the ghosts are kind of stuck in the box. None of them has actually escaped. So it looks good, but it's not a completely working game. Let's move on to Qwen. Let's copy the code, paste that, and immediately we see 4 errors, guys. Let's run it to see if it actually works. So okay, it doesn't work. So comparatively, again, Gemini is better. At least it was working. So I'll give this a win to Gemini. Now let's move on to the final question, guys. Now we are asking these models to create a website about our solar system that uses scrollytelling. So what is scrollytelling? You might have visited Apple website or such websites where you actually scroll and you can see animations appear and disappear. You know, things come and go. So that is kind of scrollytelling and scrollimations. So they have to implement that and show our whole solar system and its 8 planets through this animation. Let's see if they are any good. So let's send this question to both models and we'll wait for their responses. Okay everyone, we have got the responses from both models. Let's start off with Gemini 2.5 Pro. Let's open up HTML viewer, let's paste that, and let's preview it. It says a journey through the solar system. Embark on a cinematic voyage from the heart of our solar system to its distant icy worlds. We also have a scroll down option at the bottom. Let's move. Okay, we see the sun, but it was not able to fetch the image. We see Mercury, and you can see the animation is kind of smooth. We have Venus and Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. So it was not able to fetch the images, but the animation is kind of good. I do like this glowing effect it has come up with, and also we have a star background at the bottom, which actually scrolls. You can see the background in the backdrop. It is actually scrolling. That is nice. Let's see what Qwen has come up with. Let's copy the code, open up HTML viewer, let's paste that, let's preview it. Okay, it says Cosmic Odyssey. So I think we have an animation kind of thing over here, but nothing is visible. So I'm not able to see any kind of letters, guys. We just see a backdrop kind of thing, but no planets. So I think I have to give this a win to Gemini 2.5 Pro. With that, we are done with the testing, guys. So we tested 4 front-end questions and 3 back-end questions. So a total of 7 questions were tested, and out of 4 back-end questions, in 3 of them, Gemini 2.5 Pro was better. So it is a 3 out of 4 for Gemini 2.5 Pro when it comes to front-end. Clearly, this model is better in front-end and it does what it is asked for. Talking about Qwen, it gets a 1 out of 4. It gets the falling letters question correct, but it's a point that we just barely give because Gemini 2.5 Pro was actually bad. But one thing we were clearly able to see in front end is this model tries to do a lot of things that it is not asked for and kinds of overcomplicates things. It thinks for a lot of time, but still the performance is not that good. Talking about the backend, we tested 3 backend questions as I said. So we tested 3 backend questions as I said, and out of 3, in all 3 questions, Gemini 2.5 Pro was better and Qwen was not better in any of those things. But as I said, there is a special mention in the Earth rotation question. Qwen actually got it right. It was not better than Gemini 2.5 Pro, but it was right. And very few models actually get this question right. So it is kind of commendable, and it shows that this model might be good in backend coding, where aesthetics and things and design is not that important. But you have to understand this model hallucinates a lot, so it can introduce a lot of bugs in your backend code as well. Now, if you look at the total scores, that is 6 out of 7 for Gemini 2.5 Pro and just 1 out of 7 for Qwen. So clearly it shows that Gemini 2.5 Pro is significantly better in coding compared to Qwen, but Gemini 2.5 Pro is not the best. On my website, you can see the best model that you should use for coding. The link will be visible in the end cards. So this is the end of the coding section. So finally, what can we say? The benchmarks do tell that this model is very good, but from our testing, we can see that it is not better than Gemini 2.5 Pro. Gemini 2.5 Pro is still one of the best models that you can get for absolutely free. And this is actually sad to see because the non-thinking model was performing very good, but the thinking variant doesn't seem to be satisfying that high bar. So I tried to give you a thorough comparison of these two models, Gemini 2.5 Pro and Qwen, and I hope this information will be helpful to you. But before leaving, there might be another Chinese model which you might not have heard of, but its performance is yet to be seen. If I have made a video on it, it will be now highlighted in front of you. Please do watch it to see if it's actually impressive or not. With that being said, I'll catch you guys in that video.